South Florida with Jim Defede.
Good morning, I'm Jim Defede, and welcome to Facing South Florida. We're in day 6 of the government shutdown. You're looking at live pictures from the nation's capital. The House met in session yesterday, but there are no plans for them to meet today. It is now clear the shutdown will last well into next week, perhaps even longer. Today, we're going to try to understand how we got here, as well as an interview with former U.S. Senator George Lemieux. But first, we're going to talk to Congressman Joe Garcia. The Democrat who represents South Dade and the Florida Keys made news last week when he took to the House floor and said this.
We've cut government spending. We can do more of it. We can make government more efficient. We can fix the sequester and give agencies more flexibility. We agree with all of that on this side. We just need our colleagues to step up and push aside these extremist elements, this Taliban that isn't America's core for some reason.
The Taliban, huh? Well, when I spoke to him late last week, we started with the question of wisdom of his comments. Congressman, thank you for joining us. I guess the first thing I want to ask you is, how does referring to some of your colleagues over in the Republican side of the House as Taliban, how does that help us get out of this deadlock?
It doesn't, Jim. Listen, I wasn't referring to my colleagues as Taliban. I was simply referring to an extremist point of view, and the moment it came out of my mouth, I thought, well, this is going to be misconstrued. But listen, if anybody was offended, I'm sorry. That certainly wasn't the point. The point was to try to talk about the fact that our country's been taken hostage. It's been taken hostage by a group of extremists in the House, not the majority. Certainly, my good Republican friends, and there are many of them, aren't the ones that are the problem. The problem is a small core of guys, which apparently the Republican Party feels it needs to kowtow to, and they've literally taken our country's economy and their nation hostage. And it's unfortunate because their attitudes aren't the sense of our country. You know, this isn't how we work. I mean, we had compromised in a huge way before we got here.
All right, but let's talk about that for a second.
Sure, Jim.
The Speaker of the House says that since we're at an impasse now, let's get together, let's set it to conference, let's have a meeting, let's get together, let's negotiate. Seems as if the House Democrats, the Senate Democrats, and the President doesn't want to negotiate.
Jim, let me give you an
anything.
example of how absurd. Let me give you how absurd this is. This is like a husband and wife. One guy, husband wants to eat pizza, the wife wants to eat fried chicken. And the husband says, all right, I'm not going to pay the mortgage until we decide this. That's how absurd the debate is we're having here. We are more than happy to negotiate. We did. We've agreed to their budgetary numbers, a huge cut in social programs and defense spending that we didn't want to make, but they wanted to make. We've agreed to that already. But what you don't do is let millions of employees go home, vital employees. Jim, 70% of our intelligence community is sitting home today twiddling their thumbs. It's unpardonable. And you know what's even funnier, Jim? We're going to take a vote on Saturday to make sure we pay them their salary while they're laid off. So now we've given them a paid vacation. These are the same Republicans who hate the bureaucrats in the first place.
Senator, Congressman,
today on Friday, that is.
No, Congressman, let me hold you there for a second, because I want to ask you this specifically. You know,
Sure.
The last proposal was to delay the individual mandate for a year. There seems to be that at one point you favored actually postponing the individual mandate because you were upset that the president had delayed the corporations from having to implement Obamacare. And it seemed to me at one point you actually voted to delay the individual mandate. Now that the Republicans are suggesting it, you oppose it? Why is that?
No, Jim. What I did was that I was sending a message about what we were going to do in the mandates. And again, I'd be more than happy to negotiate all sorts of things in Obamacare. I've already signed on bills that we want to do fixes with Obamacare, but we don't do it when they take the country hostage. That's what we don't do. And by the way, Jim, I voted on some of this stuff because it's all done for messaging. It has no meaning. Like I told you earlier, you know, we're voting on WIC funding, something that Republicans have always had. This is funding for women and families for food. They've always been against this program. They're for it. On Saturday, we're going to vote for food stamps, even though they voted to cut all food stamps in their regular budget. This is gamesmanship. What we need them to do is pass a clean CR, and then we can negotiate all this. I agree with all sorts of things that we can do on Obamacare, and I voted on things that we can do for Obamacare. But what you don't do is take the country hostage, and that's what they've done. And that's why, this behavior is just unacceptable. And we're sitting up here playing. None of these votes mean anything. The Senate has been clear. The President of the United States has been clear. They want to relitigate, Jim, something that was decided a very long time ago. And of course, you don't relitigate with the entire full faith and credit of our country.
How does this end? How do we get out of this at this point?
Look, I think Boehner stated on Thursday or on Friday in the New York Times that he's not willing to go over the cliff. I think he's given now the Republicans a timeline. I'm hoping that this debate, this ability to talk to us, maybe we can get a bigger deal going on down the line. But what we cannot do is sort of engage in this ridiculous example to the rest of the world. This is not only the currency of our country, this is the currency of the world. We are laying off vital personnel that have to do with our safety, our future, our security. Jim, we live in South Florida. Everglades National Park is one of the great treasures of our country, but more importantly, it's a huge tourist attraction in our area. My fishermen in the Keys are sitting at home because they can't go fishing. The tourists came down, they can't enjoy our parks. Our community that lives from international trade, consulates are closed, the Department of Commerce can't operate on business
let me
issues.
just ask, how long do you think we'll be out? Or are you saying that you think the government will be shut down through the debt ceiling crisis? That, in other words, we'll run this all together and we'll probably be out for another week or two?
Jim, I thought that no one would be foolish enough to take us past this issue. I don't think the debt ceiling is something that they can negotiate past. No one negotiates the full faith and credit. Speaker Boehner has come to some of his senses when he said that even if he has to use Democrats to pass it, he will. And I think we'll get through this. But this is
how many days?
This
how many
is
more
no
days
way
of a shutdown,
to run a country.
Real quick, how many more days of shutdown?
Well, I think we may go on till about October 14th or 15th. It's very possible.
Congressman, I got to end it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a good night.
Jim, it's a pleasure to be with you.